want to thank our sponsors who help each week put out the content for these podcasts as we invite different people from throughout the community to tell their story. So sincerely, Soul Source Restoration. Check them out, soulsourcerestoration.com. If you ever have an issue with water damage, mold, fire damage, they're there to help. It's a local Cranston company that's supporting not only this podcast, but people every day throughout the community. Check them out. Thank you for our sponsor. What's going on, Rhode Island? I want to welcome everyone back to another episode of the Park Podcast. I'm actually with one of my oldest friends. I mean, we literally have pictures in diapers together.
Literally.
In diapers together. Wow. Jamie Angell. And I've just kind of watched you grow up my entire life. And because our fathers were best friends, they played basketball together when they were kids. And I remember intimate story that I tell pretty openly now. You know, my father got shot when he was 17 years old, and they played basketball together, but your pops and that entire team kind of rallied behind him and went canning and helped paid for his hospital bills and eventually got him out of that hospital, and first one in his family to go to college and went to Rhode Island College and became a social worker, and here we are today. You're a graduate of, or not a graduate of Rhode Island College, but you were a star, you were a basketball player, you were an athlete. I remember watching your name everywhere and just being so proud throughout the entire process and kind of just cheering you on, but like watching you from high school win a couple of state championships at LaSalle. How many was it? Two state champions, 1,000-point scorer, I believe, right? And then go on to play in college at a higher level. And then kind of just you took a little bit of a fall, right? And you tell that story openly. Do you mind sharing to our viewers kind of course. What you went through?
Yeah. So growing up, I was just an up and coming aspiring athlete, and unfortunately, the disease of addiction runs deeply on my father's side of the family. And I was always that kid that...
in our family.
Yes, exactly. I was always that kid that, never thought it would be me. I remember at, like, a real young age being in the back seat of a car. My sister's friends were driving, and they had cigarettes. I was maybe, like, 6, and I was, like, the kid, like, putting my shirt over my face. Like, I couldn't stand the stench. But unfortunately, the first time I put a substance into my body, an addict was born. And that started at the early age of 14 years old. Yeah. It had not overpowered my life at that point. In high school and college, well, I should say high school, it just kind of was like a weekend thing, really, to start off. But it did something for me that I couldn't do for myself. It basically filled a void within myself, and I was just trying to fill a void with a void my whole life. It was just a means and ways to escape, the reality I was living and the thoughts that I fought every day. And battled with that, I just openly started to talk about more so as, in the past 6 years of my life since I've been back in recovery, mental illness, anxiety, depression, PTSD. I didn't know how to verbalize those things when I was younger, so the only thing I knew how to do was, escape with a drink or a drug, basically.
Amen. Yeah. So, you've challenged that, you've put the work in. Identifying the problems and how you were earlier in life, and now you're actually helping others, right? And by telling your story. And what does that feel like to have the ability to talk about your own internal struggles, be vulnerable, not be afraid to express what you've navigated through, why it happened for you, but understand it's different for everyone else, but try to help them on a path back?
Honestly, you just basically spit out my why for me, because for so long I couldn't figure out why I went down the road I went down and how I couldn't get out of that rabbit hole. And right when I got back into recovery and accumulated some time of complete abstinence, I realized that if I didn't speak about and share my story and have a voice, because I didn't back then, the disease of addiction wants me to be quiet and wants me to sit down in my room isolated from everybody. But the second I share my pain and my real experiences, that's when other people can truly identify with me and relate to me and have the courage to say, you know what, me too, and feel comfortable to come forward and, address their demons and their issues, because someone did that for me, and, unexpectedly, this is what just happened. I was asked to share my story one day, and, I remember that first time that somebody said to me, Jamie, you helped me stay clean today. Yeah. Jamie, you changed my life. Jamie, you helped me not pick up that drink or, go down and cop a substance, and I could potentially be dead today. That specific moment is what filled my spirit. It wasn't a drink or a drug at this point. It was sharing my hope and someone else saying, if you could do it, I could do it.
Yeah.
That honestly is what fills me up today. And if there's nothing more grateful than for that I can ever do, being back in this position of life where I'm at today, is give back in that sense. So
Amen. I
Yeah.
appreciate it. And I watch it. I get to watch you. I've watched you coach in this new chapter of your life, be vulnerable and talk more
Yeah.
openly about what you've struggled through. And we all struggle through
Yeah,
different things in life, right?
absolutely.
Like, we all have to navigate through different processes. But I think the more we're open to being vulnerable to each other as a society, as a human race,
Right.
and express that we're all kind of navigating and going through different things internally, we get to understand each other differently.
Right.
And then when we understand each other differently, we can then formulate a plan on how we can help each other. And ultimately, that's
Absolutely.
how we all can get through what, in my opinion, was the hardest years of our life, these last couple of years of the pandemic. But what it has done, in my opinion, is it's got us all talking about mental health. It's got us all talking about the struggles of the
Right.
mind. It's even as men got us saying vulnerably, like, yeah, we're a little up,
Right.
We're all a
Yeah.
little messed up, and maybe it's from this or this or this, but we're all molded differently. One of our previous guests has an organization called Beat the Odds. To an extent, I think we both, growing up, how we grew up, to where we are today, sitting next
Wow.
to each other on a podcast,
Yeah.
we beat the odds, right? A lot of people die of substance abuse, or they don't go to the next level in college, but through different outlets, or working hard, playing college athletics, keeping us involved in sports. We have the opportunity. We're blessed with the opportunity today to
Right.
tell our stories, whether good, bad, and different.
Yeah.
It got us right here, right now, to be able to affect a life, affect a soul, coach at a higher level, right? And I think that's kind of, for me, my why.
Right.
I've identified that no matter what I have in the bank, of course, it's nice to have money to be able to have things, to go on vacation and have a safer lifestyle. But for me, it's every day getting up, getting out of bed, and coaching these teams around me and coaching people
Yeah.
around me, and hopefully inspiring that there's a good story at the end of the day, that we can all navigate through these
Yeah.
tough times of life, right?
Absolutely. I don't think there's any coincidences in life. Like, there's no coincidence that we're sitting here together and this is, happening right now. I used to always think that there was coincidences, but it's really, if you think about it, it's just like your will and God's will coinciding in one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What's meant to happen will be and will happen. And you've done tremendous things in the community, Ed. I look up to you as politically,
I appreciate it.
entrepreneur. Like, you blow people out the water, and what I love about you is it's genuine. You know
Thank
what I mean?
you.
It's genuine. You're humble, and I love that. And for myself, I couldn't always say that I was humble at one point.
I couldn't either.
You,
I
you
wasn't in
remember?
high school,
I had
yeah.
a chip on my shoulder at one point. I didn't know how to talk about. I didn't know how to get honest. I didn't know how to get vulnerable. I had that hard exterior that if I let you in and I told you my deepest, darkest secrets of what I struggled with, you'll be able to break me down even more. Put it in your pocket to use it as almost retaliation later.
Sure. And as an athlete, you didn't want to give anyone anything.
No,
To
absolutely
get in your
not.
mindset playing the sports
No,
growing up, right?
absolutely
but
not.
when we go into adulthood, it's like,
Yeah.
well, how do we fix ourselves?
Right.
Right, which
You
is really, really cool. Every addiction is different.
Right.
Handling every addiction is different. I'm sure as part of your processes and going into some of these discussions and rehabilitation centers and talking to others about your story, you're going to affect a different soul differently through each thing. But most of it is being consistent, right? Getting back on track, going through the steps and trying to just kind of every single day live a day at a time
That's
towards
right.
towards a
One day
brighter
at a
path,
time.
right? Towards and to me, I think that's kind of life right now for
Absolutely.
everyone, right? We're
Yeah.
all, like we talked about a little bit earlier in this conversation, struggling through something.
Mm-hmm.
But if we can talk about it every day and have a safe knit group that isn't judging us, that
Right.
is trying to help us through it, then
Exactly.
life gets a little bit easier. So what resources that have helped you would you recommend to others through addiction, getting back on the right track?
I everybody's pathway to recovery is different. I've tried many ways for years, self-experienced, to try to do one thing that may had not worked for me. What has worked for me is I'm a member of a 12-step fellowship, known as Narcotics Anonymous. For me, that it believes in complete abstinence. It believes in you get a sponsor, you have a home group, you do service work, and you go through the 12 steps, which drastically changes your life. It's like a spiritual Visine, and it really truly gets you to the core of why you did the things you did. A lot of your defects, and it makes you become who you are today and who you will be in the future. But besides just, that 12-step fellowship that I attend weekly, I've been to multiple outpatient programs. I've also put myself in, mental health programs I suffer with, anxiety and depression. You know, and I do other healthy things for my
Me too,
life.
by the way. I mean, I know it
We're
might
all
not-
Me Too's.
yeah,
We're
yeah.
all Me Too's,
I mean,
you
it's
know?
like, and you got to talk about that.
Yeah.
Right. There's been certain parts of the process.
Yeah.
Anxiety, depression. It
Yeah.
gets in. Right.
Yeah,
We're
absolutely.
often our hardest critic of ourselves.
Absolutely, we
You know,
really
but I didn't
are.
mean to interrupt.
No, no, you're
I
good.
wanted to share with you.
I
that-
love that you share that because, you know, that the courage to share that, you know, I think it's beautiful to be able to be honest and vulnerable because, like, ego and pride won't allow some people to do
especially
that.
early in the process, right? As we
Yeah.
get older and we evolve,
Absolutely.
I think we come into ourselves more.
Yeah.
We fall in love with ourselves a little bit more. Understand
Yeah.
that we're not. Our imperfections are almost make us perfect. These struggles and trials and tribulations that we had to go through actually make us who we are.
Absolutely.
Right? So I didn't mean to
Absolutely.
interrupt, but yeah, please continue.
You know, so besides, you know, just putting myself in and attending, like, you know, outpatient programs, you know, I still seek outside help. You know, I go to therapy every 2 weeks. You know, and I just implement healthy activities in my life, whether that be, you know, me still playing basketball, I still play hockey, I'm still, you know, boxing, I'm not competing, but, you know, I do these things and I spend time with my family and friends, all healthy activities, meditating, breathing techniques, you know, things in nature, just anything that adds value to my life and fills my spirit besides, you know, just helping another sick and suffering person, even
Sure.
that's not struggling with addiction, with someone that's struggling with anxiety and depression. I mean, it costs nothing to be kind. You never know what someone's going through. And, you know, I just try to just do the next right thing every day. But those are basically the things that I do to be where I'm at today and just continue to do that because I'm not in a position to act out on any type of behaviors, and nor am I in a position to, you know, pick up that next substance. That was my first reaction when stuff hit the fan in the
Sure.
past, life on life's terms. So I try to practice those things in my daily life, and that's basically the reason why I'm sitting here almost with 6 years in recovery now.
Amen.
Yeah,
I'm proud of you.
I'm proud of you.
Oh, I appreciate it.
Of course, Ed.
You know, life is, like I said, we go back to pictures and diapers, you know, so it's
Literally.
interesting to watch the trials and tribulations of, you know, two
Yeah.
kids that grew up in very similar households and what
Mhm.
we've had to navigate through in families. I remember walking in 13, 14 years old on my Uncle Billy, who was a friend of your father's and a friend of my
Yeah.
father's. And,
Yeah.
and he played basketball with them. And I got the news from the family that he had passed away from drugs and alcohol abuse. And for me, that was what kept me away from it earlier in life, right? It was my fear because I was impacted at that age to see what it can actually do to someone. So when
Right.
those kids at that 18, 19, 20-year-old point were asking to, you know, pass it on, and I could always say no, or my asthma, or I always had an excuse, but, you know, it doesn't mean that I didn't have direct impacts of it around me within my family from
Yeah.
what the disease has. Obviously, we know a lot of it is hereditary and a lot of it's inherited, and but you can, and you're showing it day by day, you can break the mold, you can change the system, you can change the mindset, you can make the corrective action through the same processes we learned through sports.
Yeah.
Consistency, day by day, routines, right? To change not only your life, but change an environment of lives around you and people around you just by, like you said, being vulnerable, being kind. I think that's such an important factor that we learn
Yeah,
at such an
it
early
is.
age, and we forget it almost. It's like, you know, you're driving by in such a fast world, fast society, and you hear someone go, beep, beep, get out of the way, right? And it's like, slow down. Where are you going? The light is right there.
Yeah.
There's nowhere
Yeah,
to go.
I know.
Right? So
That's me, beep, beep.
oh, was that you earlier? But you know, I think that even for myself, someone that we've talked on depression and anxiety and struggles of mind and being the hardest on ourselves, and I think that's also part athlete in me from when I was earlier is that I can always do better. I can always evolve. I can always continue to grow and improve myself and improve others around me. And if I'm not holding myself accountable every day, I go to bed at night and I literally, before my head hits the pillow, I'm like, did I handle that situation right? Did I let my temper get involved in the way that I addressed that situation? I'm looking every single time, every single day to see how I can become a better and better leader so that I could hopefully impact more and more people around me. You know, and I think that is something that I definitively know I've watched in you throughout your cycles of life, right? Throughout your highs and your lows, because you've had some tremendous highs. I mean, we talked on it earlier. Your name was everywhere. You were Jamie Angell. You were the best, in my opinion, of our generation, female athlete in the discussion of where's she going to play, where's she going to go. How was that for your mindset when that next phase didn't come, or whether it was pro, or where did you think you were going to play it, at what level? I know we've spoke on that in the past.
Yeah, here comes the PTSD. Just kidding.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm kidding. Actually, that was probably one of the biggest turning points of my life. I can say that and see that today from where I am in my perspective when I look back. When Providence College revoked my scholarship is truly when my heartbreak first began, and I really started to act out, not only with substances but behavior-wise. I didn't know how to talk about how I was embarrassed, how ashamed I felt, how I was basically living two lives at one point. The life I was living on the court wasn't the life I was living off the court. Yeah. That was a big thing for me. I didn't know where I was going to go. I kept telling myself, I'll just settle locally for 2 years, and then I'll get some more Division I, Division II offers, and I'll make my decision after that. And unfortunately, disease addiction started to manifest in many, many ways and started to really progress, and that never became a second thought. A first thought, again after that. So that's when I settled and went to Rick for 2 years. But it's funny because, like, as you say, like, when people say Jamie Angell, the athlete, the star, this and that, for so long, I didn't recognize until I did some step work and work on myself that I was self-sabotaging so much at a young age. Because I had so much pressure and expectations put on me. Sure. Really young, I was in the limelight a lot.
Yep.
And athletically, I could come through in the clutch, no problem.
Sure.
But in the game of life is where I started to veer off, and it became a point where, like I said, I just started to self-sabotage, and those goals of being this aspiring Division I athlete that I thought I was going to be, and a professional athlete at that. Like, I still had the offer to go play professionally overseas. Yep. At the end of my senior year. That never happened, and for a long time I was embarrassed, and I ran and I hid, and I self-inflicted and caused my own self-chaos because I couldn't face that person in the mirror of what I just destroyed. That wasn't my purpose, though. You know what I mean?
I do. Yeah.
I used to think that was my identity, like we were just talking about it, but it was really just a talent, because there's so much more to me than Jamie the athlete.
Amen.
Jamie to someone in recovery. Jamie the empowerment speaker. There's so much more that makes up who I am. Yep. And for a long time, I had this wall up. I didn't like people getting around me because I was petrified of their motives. Sometimes only people wanted to be around me when I was in the light. Clap in the light and run when I was in the dark. Yep. I was used to that so much in my life.
We learn a lot when we're in the dark too, and who sticks around, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I thought I'd had paranoias in my head, but a lot of it was from experiences I've seen throughout my life that made me have massive trust issues. Yeah. You know what I mean? And but I'm grateful today that's not where I did end up. I'm grateful today to know that was just my talent, and to just be where I'm at doing what I'm doing today.
Yeah, that's powerful. That's powerful. So what advice, now that you have the opportunity to coach and talk to people that are going through maybe similar situations that you're going through in their scaling process, being in the limelight, being an athlete, when they hit that point, how would you tell an athlete not to self-sabotage, or what advice would you give them to when they're going through that process of change and being...
Right.
That's a scary process. It's a scary time, and that is a pressure.
It's absolutely a scary process. I would tell them, the only way to get comfortable is to get uncomfortable. I would say, honestly, truly, a lot of things that have stopped me in my life dead in my tracks was on the other side of fear. Yep. Walking through that fear and that uncomfortability and, that comfort zone that you place yourself in. There's no growth in a comfort zone. Yep. Bet on yourself. Be true to yourself. Take that next step, no matter how petrified you are, nervous, heart palpitations. Even if you think that you're going to fail, what's the worst if you do fail? Yeah. You know what I mean?
Oof, that was big.
You know what I'm saying? What's the worst?
I know exactly what you're saying, because I think fear sneaks in, no matter what, in everybody, right?
All the time.
I remember I didn't know what an anxiety attack was until about 26, 27, and I had to pull over on the side of the road, and I'm like, what was that? Yeah. But then we often look so far ahead, and we get fearful of what could happen wrong versus just continuing to live in the moment, take it step by step, give our best effort, right, and just live through the process in the moment. and not allow fear. And I know that's a lot easier said than
Yeah.
done, but if we can just keep being the best version of ourselves, know that we're not perfect, know that even a podcast, I might say something wrong or yada, 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 but at least I'm being true to myself. At least I'm
Yeah.
putting out my message of what I believe I should be. At least I'm holding myself accountable through the process. Then to me, that was kind of some of the factors that eliminated I no longer started having attacks. I didn't have to be on medication, right? Doing those same processes that you talked about, getting in the sun, playing hockey, finding balance,
Exactly.
right? Finding those exercises where it's not all just work, work, work. Finding a strategic way to have some work, 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 a little bit of play.
Yeah.
Different processes that work
Balance.
for each of us
It's
to
all
make
about
us
balance.
evolve, be better, continue to stay humble, be kind.
Mm-hmm.
All these lessons of life that we learn really, really early in the process
Mm-hmm.
that make us the best version of ourselves, right?
Yeah.
Success early on in the process, to me, when we were just kids growing up, was far different than what I believe it is to be today.
100%.
You know, and
100%.
what was success to you? Do you remember?
Success to me was scoring 30 points on a basketball court, dating the hottest broad
Yep.
on the street,
You always did all right.
having
in
the
that
nice, having the nicest Jordans. I mean, that was success for me. I didn't even think on the academic level ever. It was always, distractions.
Yeah,
That's what success was to me early. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm talking about kid.
sure.
As I got older, I mean, success looked like, getting a 4-year college degree.
Learning
Yeah.
every day.
Life experiences. Getting through life experiences to me without having to use any kind of substance or not harming another human being because
Yeah.
I don't know how to deal with my own emotions. And changing someone's life is success for me today. I would have
Yeah.
told you the total opposite 7 years ago.
Yeah, and I think we learn more. I know we learn more from the losses, right? In business,
Oh, yeah.
in life, in family. When we lose someone, whatever it may be,
Mhm.
you learn more in loss than you do in winning all the time, right? We
Yeah.
have to lose in order to
Yeah.
get back up.
Right.
We have to. We don't understand ourselves, nor will we ever appreciate success or appreciate that milestone of I did this or I did that if we didn't have to navigate and grind through all those tough times and feel and empathetically learn through those life experiences when we're down. And a lot of people kind of disappear, like we talked on earlier, and
Right.
those that remain there through the process, that inner core, those true friends, right, that propel us into that next step. I mean, it makes it, who knows what's next, right? And when you can start
Absolutely.
to shift the mindset to anything is possible versus, well, what if this goes wrong? What if that goes wrong? What if, because you have the right people around you, because your processes are right, because your mind is clear,
Mm-hmm.
then who knows? Maybe the next thing is the next thing, and the next thing is the next
Exactly.
thing. But if it's all motivated by helping, being kind, building better ecosystems, being true to ourselves, right?
Mhm.
Being the best version of ourselves, loving ourselves in the mirror when we wake up every day and when we go to bed every day, being blessed for what we have,
Mhm.
then success to me as a kid that didn't grow up with money and maybe couldn't afford Jordans, and Uncle Billy bought me my first pair, so they mean that much to
Aw,
me, and I
yeah.
still have them now,
Do
right?
you?
Of course I
Wow.
do. We'll have that obsession with having those fly Jordans, right?
Absolutely.
Success to me now is like what you just said, is every day putting forth your best effort, knowing we are not perfect in this world, and being okay with expressing, even on the internet or on a podcast, that
Yeah.
we're all going to have to get back up again. And it's a lot easier to get back up when we can do it together as a team of like-minded individuals and being able to vulnerably express why we're not perfect, why we are who we are, right? Why we were all molded differently, yet we're still here today trying to mold a better Cranston, mold a better Rhode Island, mold better communities around us. So I applaud you for continuing to get up, to be in this next chapter of your life and motivate and inspire not only yourself but others around you, because you're doing a great job.
Oh,
and I'm
thank
proud
you,
of
Eddie.
you.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, man. Absolutely, Jamie. Is there anything else?
Hasn't been easy. Hasn't been easy.
Life's not easy,
No.
right? I think it only gets harder.
Absolutely. I always used to say, life, a strong person isn't measured by how many weights they can put up.
Yep.
A strong person's measured by how many times they can get knocked down and get back up and make an impact on the people around them and change who they are when they looked in the mirror that last time. Truly, that's what I believe a strong person is. And strong people get weak too.
Amen.
You know what I mean? But like you said, the courage and the vulnerability to talk about that is what helps one another heal. So that's why I do what I do, and someone did it for me. So
One of my oldest friends, so proud of her. I think we talked about a lot today that hit me in the heart. And life has so many different chapters. Some are going to be greater than others. Some are going to be good. Some are going to be bad. And we're writing our own story. We at any point in these chapters can rewrite that chapter and make a better ending, right? So I appreciate you being
just
here
the
today.
beginning, Ed.
Just the beginning. Amen. Yep.
Keep going. Keep
Jamie,
going.
Angel, keep going. Keep getting back up one day at a time.
That's it.
Thank you for checking out the Park Podcast, and we hope you keep watching. We're kind of just bringing people from the from throughout the community that have powerful stories to tell as we all continue to navigate through the tough times that we've had for the last few years.
Absolutely.
And get through this together. So we're going to keep going.
Thank you, Ed.
Amen.